Hey there! I've got something that might sound a bit wild, but stick with me. Ontario's real estate market is about to take a huge nosedive, and it's going to be quite a spectacle, like the Leafs in the playoffs, if you catch my drift. It's pretty unbelievable how the place where a parking spot costs more than some small town mayor's paycheck is finally starting to show some big cracks. Now, if you're scratching your head and asking what Ontario is, I'm guessing you're from the States. If you do know where Ontario is, you're probably in that top 1% who can locate anything other than the US on a map. Here's the scoop. People often think that Canadian real estate is only going to rise, kind of like everyone claiming Tim Hortons coffee is top notch. We've convinced ourselves of this for so long that it's almost become a fact. But after years of prices soaring like a squirrel on caffeine, foreign buyers treating our market like a game of Monopoly, and speculation that makes cryptocurrencies seem stable, reality is coming in fast. Think of a Canadian winter hitting after you've gotten cozy in Florida. I focused on real estate in the US, but I've got to keep my fellow Canadians in the loop because we share a border. And to those of you not tied to Canada, you should really tune in. Just because it's not in the US doesn't mean it won't affect our own economy. Everything's connected, folks. If you've stuck around while others clicked away, congrats! You're about to pick up some insights that many Americans might not even see coming, from how Canada's mortgage market might influence pricing back in the States to what Canadian policies reveal about what to do or what not to do. If you catch wind of any changes in the US, you'll be ahead of the game just for watching this little video. I'd appreciate a thumbs up because I've got a list of 10 Ontario markets that are about to get really hit hard. And honestly, some of these places kind of deserve it. But in a good way, I promise you'll see why. Kicking it off with number 10 is Beampton. Oh, Beampton. The average price of a detached home there somehow skyrocketed to $1.3 million, even though it's, Beampton. This is a place where insurance rates are surprisingly higher than what the homes are worth. So let's chat about what's been happening in Brampton. It's kind of wild that we all decided Brampton was worth Toronto prices, but without all the fancy stuff that Toronto has. The median household income here is around $87,000. And get this, the average mortgage payment for $1 million home is about $6,800 a month. And we're not even counting property taxes, utilities, or the stress of dealing with Brampton traffic. Honestly, don't even calculate it, it's just too disheartening. Now here's the scoop. Inventory has shot up by 47% year over year. Yep, you heard that right. Sellers are coming onto the market faster than cars jam up that one intersection whenever it rains. And the South Asian community, which has helped build Brampton into this vibrant, family-friendly place with more shawarma spots per capita than anywhere in Canada, is feeling the squeeze the most. Families used to come together to pool resources for homes, but now, with interest rates hitting 7%, those mortgages are gnawing away at savings like I do at a buffet. But there's more. Depends on whether you're a buyer or seller, though. The investors who pushed prices up are bailing out quicker than teens fleeing a party when someone's parents show up. Rental returns just can't keep up with these new mortgage rates. And now, everyone's starting to wonder if paying Vancouver prices for Mississauga's slightly wilder sibling was really a smart move. But hey, picture this. Sunday cricket games in Chinguacousy Park, the aroma of jerk chicken mingling with samosas from food trucks, and kids playing in backyards way bigger than Toronto condos. That's the Brampton dream. And honestly, once prices drop by 30 to 40%, it might become something regular families can actually achieve again. Now let's move on to Barrie. Ah, Barrie. You gorgeous lakeside spot with some ups and downs. It turns out when people from Toronto realize there's life north of Highway 407, they come and shake things up with their big city cash and little city expectations. The population here has skyrocketed by 300% in the last 2 decades, and prices have jumped 400% just in the last 5 years. But here's the kicker. The job market, it didn't grow by 400%. Unless you count commuting to Toronto as Barrie's main gig, let's be real, that's pretty much it. The average home price is now $897,000 in Barrie, a place where the biggest cultural question is whether the Spirit Catcher is art or just a jungle gym. The median income is about $78,000, so these numbers, they don't fit together very well, like a vegan at a hunting lodge. I can't really say much about those prices, but imagine if every single one of my subscribers got me a cheeseburger. Honestly, the market value of those cheeseburgers wouldn't even cover a down payment. Now that's pretty wild, right? But hang on, it all depends on how much we're shelling out for food. You guys should comment on how pricey a simple burger is at a standalone restaurant, not counting places like McDonald's or Burger King. We should aim for something healthier here. Now let's get back to the main point. Here's the deal. Toronto's economy has a big impact on surrounding areas like Barrie. When Toronto sneezes, Barrie catches a cold, and right now, Toronto seems a bit under the weather. We've got tech layoffs, cuts in the financial sector, and people are being called back to the office after working from home. This is hitting those who thought they had scored a dream spot just an hour north. Meanwhile, new condo projects in Barrie are sitting mostly empty because, surprise, surprise, young professionals aren't lining up to pay $2,500 a month to live over a Kelsey's. And those waterfront properties that used to sell for $2 million? Buyers are starting to realize that living lakefront in Barrie means staring at ice fishing shanties for 5 months of the year. But here's something interesting. Downtown Barrie is actually getting pretty cool. It's developing into a place with real restaurants, craft breweries, and a Saturday farmers market where you can snag honey from a guy who definitely has his own views on the government. Once those prices drop, maybe that projected 35% of people might finally be able to enjoy what the area has to offer. Now let's talk about Milton, sweet suburban Milton, where they've put up homes way quicker than they've managed to build roads, schools, or really any reason to live there. This place has grown by 300% in just 2 decades, and I think a whopping 299% of that is just copies of the same subdivision. The average home price here? It's about $1.2 million for the chance to live in what feels like a giant parking lot surrounded by houses. Every street looks the same. It's like someone hit copy and paste on the entire neighborhood. You practically need GPS to find your own place, and even then, you might just walk into your neighbor's identical home. Now, whether your neighbor drives an identical Ford F-150 like yours is another story. It could be a headache or maybe even a hidden blessing, especially if you're in the middle of Texas or Oklahoma, where Bill might lend you a tool if you ever find yourself in a jam. But back here in Canada, the demographics are really interesting. Young families are stretching their finances to chase that suburban dream, thinking it'll bring them closer to everything they need. You know, being near Toronto used to mean something special. But if you find yourself stuck in 401 traffic for 2 hours each way, that's not proximity. That's like a limbo with a mortgage hanging over you. The reality is that rising interest rates are really hurting families. Just think about it. Couples who bought their homes when rates were at 1.5% are now renewing at 7%. That's an additional $2,400 a month on the average mortgage in Milton. It's not just a squeeze. It feels more like a financial Heimlich maneuver. And despite all this, the town keeps building. It's almost like developers didn't get the memo that having more houses than jobs, schools, or places to have fun doesn't create a community. It just turns into an expensive storage space for people. New developments are trying to lure buyers with $100,000 discounts. But really, that's not just a sale. It's like a panic attack wrapped in a price tag. But here's something to admire. Those Pakistani and Indian families who moved here for better schools and safe neighborhoods are really building a community. You can find cricket sets in every garage and a strong network of aunties in every park. It's like they're more tightly knit than NATO, and let me tell you, the biryani at those neighborhood potlucks? Legendary. Once property prices crash by 40%, Milton could actually live up to its promise of being affordable for families. Just don't forget to bring your own fun. Speaking of fun, let's chat about Oshawa for a moment. It's this scrappy underdog in Durham region that somehow convinced everyone it was the next big thing. Spoiler alert, it's not. This city lost General Motors, found a university, and figured that was enough to rebrand itself. Average prices here are bumping up against $858,000. Yikes. In Oshawa, the motto could easily be, "At least we're not at Whitby prices yet." The student rental market is completely flooded. It's more crowded than a first-year philosophy class. Investors thought Ontario Tech and Durham College students would dish out Toronto prices for rent. Spoiler, they're living off KD and Dreams and definitely can't cover a $3,000 mortgage payment. And here's the kicker. Downtown Oshawa is really putting in the effort. They've got things like escape rooms, axe throwing, and so many vape shops it feels like they could create their own climate. But when the average household makes $76,000 and homes are nearly $900,000, the numbers just don't add up. In Ontario, we're seeing inventory levels shoot up by a whopping 62%. That's huge. This isn't just a normal market correction. It's more like the market is going through a big identity crisis. Investors who jumped on pre-construction homes might be in for a surprise, as pre-construction could very well mean pre-D disaster. Now, let's chat about Oshawa. This place has some solid charm, with its access to Lake Ontario, lovely green spaces, and a genuine blue-collar vibe that Mississauga lost a long time ago. The Serbian, Polish, and Portuguese communities here do a fantastic job of building real neighborhoods, instead of just cookie-cutter subdivisions. When prices drop by an expected 35% to 45%, regular folks might finally be able to snag a spot near that waterfront trail. The one where you can bike all the way to Toronto if you're feeling adventurous. Then there's Hamilton, often called the Hammer. It used to be considered the Brooklyn of the North until people realized Brooklyn doesn't have the same vibes of steel production and unmet dreams. Hamilton used to be the go-to for those looking for a Toronto alternative. Articles called it hip, while bloggers touted it as upcoming. But as more people flocked here, the locals found themselves getting priced out. Hey, if you're enjoying this chat, give that like button a little tap. It really makes a difference. I might not have the experience of those truck drivers who see Ontario day and night, but my research expertise sheds light on some wild trends. For instance, average home prices in Hamilton recently hit $847,000. That's crazy when you remember houses were going for $200,000 back in 2015. This isn't just a case of price appreciation, it's pure financial madness with a view. Sure, the waterfalls are pretty, but you can't pay that mortgage with Instagram likes from your beautiful Devil's Punch Bowl photos. The migration tide from Toronto to Hamilton is now reversing quicker than some politicians' promises on the environment. And let's be real, that charming house label usually means the furnace is older than your parents, and up-and-coming neighborhood gets you the excitement of hearing gunshots, but hopefully not directed at you. Parents of McMaster students thought they were making a smart move by purchasing investment properties. Now, they're realizing that being a landlord in Hamilton involves navigating the complex world of being a landlord with local tenants. That's definitely not an investment. It's more like a part-time job in conflict resolution. But here's what we've got to keep an eye on. You know what? Hamilton isn't thrilled with all the Toronto folks moving in. Okay, maybe it's a bit personal, but it's really about what you represent. You pushed out families that have been here for ages and turned places like Locke Street into a mini version of Toronto, complaining the whole time that it didn't quite measure up. But let me tell you, the steelworkers, the artists who were around when rents were actually affordable, and the Portuguese and Italian families that shaped this city are all just waiting for that market crash like it's Christmas morning. We're talking about a projected drop of 40 to 50%. And honestly, good for them. Hamilton deserves to be affordable for the people who live there. Now let's chat about Cambridge. This is where the tech boom from Kitchener-Waterloo led people to search for bigger backyards and lower mortgage payments. But surprise, those mortgage payments aren't small anymore. And the tech jobs? Well, the truth is, the average price for a home here is around $823,000. For a place known mostly for having 3 downtown areas because 3 smaller towns couldn't stay separate, it's all a bit ridiculous. It's like an awkward relationship, right? The tech bust is hitting Cambridge hard, like a tornado in a trailer park. Those Google workers who could work anywhere? Turns out anywhere meant back in the office in Toronto. The startup guys who jumped in during the boom are now learning that stock options don't pay the mortgage when their company is valued at "please don't shut us down." Each part of Cambridge, Preston G and Hesper, are starting to show cracks. Inventory is up 71%, prices are down 12%, and we're not even at the real turning point yet. Just wait until the adjustable rate mortgages start kicking in. That's going to get interesting. The Portuguese community here has built something wonderful over generations. Family businesses, community centers, and those bakeries where the pastries cost less than Tim Hortons and are way better. They're seeing all that Toronto money vanish, and honestly, they're not shedding any tears over it. Here's the deal. Cambridge is reasonable at around $500,000, maybe $550,000. But at $823,000, that's just plain delusion. The correction coming here isn't just a dip, it's a wake-up call that's going to resonate throughout the Tri-City area. Now onto Vaughan. This place became a city but forgot to let anyone know. This is what you get when developers take the reins on community planning. You end up with Canada's Wonderland, Vaughan Mills, and a bunch of identical subdivisions connected by highways. The average price for a detached home here? A whopping $1.6 million. All right, let's dive into this. Remember Oakville? It's that charming yet kind of snobby place where the streets feel like they're just paved with entitlement and houses have prices that can rival some small country's economies. We're talking average prices hitting around $1.8 million. Seriously, that's more like a ransom note than a home price. Here, Tesla Model X vehicles are as common as your average Toyota Camry, and the folks there casually complain about private school tuition like it's just everyday chit-chat. But here's where it gets interesting. The fancy residents of Oakville are going to find out that just because you have a ton of equity doesn't mean you've got cash flow to match. Those millionaire boomers sitting comfortably on homes worth about $3 million, their kids are struggling to afford a place even in the same area. It's like the town is gentrifying in reverse, aging out while driving away its own future. Now, listings are on the rise, up by a whopping 83%. That's every boomer realizing it might be time to cash out before their home plunges in value. But the big question is, who's buying these properties? It's not those hedge fund kids. They're facing layoffs. And forget about foreign investments. That money isn't flowing in like it used to. Young families, they're too busy just trying to keep up with grocery prices. Now, switching gears to Vaughan, where things are a bit rough. This place is marked by culture that revolves around which chain restaurant you favor at the local power center. The city might as well use the motto, "At least we've got decent highway access." It's a community built on the foundations laid by Italian and Jewish families over the years, with Nona cooking up her famous sauce and families gathering for Shabbat. That's a real community vibe. But then the investors showed up, and it turned into a sea of identical houses that even Amazon drivers can't keep track of, leaving packages at random doors. Here's the kicker. Household debt is sitting at a staggering 385% of income. That's not just a little risky, it's a recipe for disaster. Interest rates have already started shaking things up, and it's only a matter of time before the collapse hits. Those condos popping up along Highway 7? They look like something out of Sim City, mostly empty. And those luxury developments near the subway? Ghost towns. Turns out paying $800,000 for a tiny 500 square foot box with a view of more boxes isn't what people really want. But let's imagine a Sunday afternoon at a cozy Italian bakery, one that isn't a chain, but a place where the owner knows your kids by name. The smell of fresh bread fills the air, balancing with an espresso so strong it could revitalize anyone. Kids are having a blast playing soccer in the park while Nona chats away about everyone's business from the benches. That kind of community could rise once prices take a nosedive by about 45% and families can finally afford to settle down again. So there you have it, the stark reality of these Ontario real estate markets. Isn't it wild? Let's dive into this conversation about Ontario real estate markets, starting with Mississauga. A lot of people don't even know this city exists until they need a more affordable place to live. But here's the kicker. It's not that affordable anymore. It's crazy to think that Canada's sixth largest city feels like a storage unit for Toronto. The average price for a home there is around $1.1 million. And honestly, it doesn't even have a real downtown or an identity. Square One, their version of a city center, is just a mall. It's like saying a food court is your kitchen. And those condos, they don't even get fancy names anymore. Just boring numbers like Building 1 and Building 2. The communities here, especially from the South Asian and Middle Eastern backgrounds, created vibrant neighborhoods full of culture and delicious food. But then investors swooped in, turning it all into profit margins. Now, those incredible families that made Mississauga feel alive can't even afford to stay. Right now, condo inventory is up a staggering 94%. That's not a healthy market. That feels more like a clearance sale. Those shiny glass towers they thought would attract buyers are really just sitting there because condo prices don't grow endlessly, And the charming Port Credit area is priced like it's in downtown Toronto. Spoiler alert, being by Lake Ontario doesn't give it a special status when other cities like Hamilton and Oakville are nearby. That just means you're wet and paying way too much. When the correction happens, we're looking at a drop of about 45 to 55% for condos, and maybe 35 to 40% for houses. And you know what? That might actually be a good thing. Maybe it'll help Mississauga figure out what it wants to be instead of just a leftover spot for Toronto. Now let's talk about Toronto itself. I mean, this is the sixth, the center of the universe, according to its residents. It's wild how people have bought into this idea that they should pay top dollar, like $2 million or more for a place. You know, it's wild to think that a semi-detached home in Leslieville is just going for about $1 million these days. The average price for a house in Toronto is around $1.3 million, while condos are sitting at about $780,000. And can we talk about the sanity around here? It feels pretty non-existent. People are out here talking about their mortgage payments like they're bragging about their salaries. It's like being house poor isn't just a situation, it's a whole lifestyle. So here's what's really going on. The fundamentals have disappeared, poof, just like affordable rent did back in 2015. We've seen tech workers getting laid off and the financial sector making cuts. Sure, immigration is still strong, but folks working at Tim Hortons aren't usually in the market for million-dollar homes. And inventory? That's piling up like tension at a condo board meeting. Those fancy developments in Liberty Village, they're only luxurious in the same way that gas station sushi is gourmet. Those King West condos, they're just sitting empty because investors have realized that Airbnb doesn't quite work out when tourists can't afford to visit. And the once-up-and-coming neighborhoods? They've been coming for the last 20 years, but now they're priced like they've already made it and have kids in private schools. Parkdale prices are creeping up to Rosedale levels. It's like trying to buy a McDonald's meal at a steakhouse price. Technically possible, but seriously, why would you even do that? Toronto seems to think it's the next New York or London, but let's be real. It's a beautiful, diverse city that's often freezing cold with great healthcare and a bit of a superiority complex. When the correction hits, and I'm talking about a conservative estimate of 40 to 60%, this city will need to remember what it really is, a place where everyday folks can afford to live. And that's what I want for you, whether you're in Ontario or anywhere else in the world. You deserve a family, a home, and a solid job. Nobody should be paying rent like they're on life support. That's just not right. If I can help you out, even a little bit, by sharing these small videos to keep you informed or ahead of the game, then I've done my job. Let's face it, if you bought a place recently, this all feels pretty scary. But if you're waiting to buy, it's like Christmas for you. And for the boomers sitting on property gold, I bet you're crafting an angry comment right about now, thinking I don't know the first thing about real estate. But hey, instead of posting that comment here, why not share your thoughts on what you think will happen in the next 5 to 10 years and what your game plan is? My advice? Don't treat your first home like an investment. Buy it because it's where you and your family will live. Simple as that. Now, let me ask you, if you've got a retirement plan in mind, hey there. So, let's talk about the current state of the housing market in Ontario. Have you ever thought about your investment account? Do you check it constantly like a full-time trader juggling a regular job, or do you just leave it be? If you don't keep tabs on it, then you might agree with me on this point. Now, let's get real for a second. Canadian household debt has skyrocketed to a staggering 180% of income, and guess what? Interest rates aren't dropping anytime soon. Plus, while we keep hearing about immigration helping to prop up housing prices, it won't do much if newcomers can't afford them. And those foreign buyer bans? Yeah, they're actually being enforced. This situation isn't just a minor hiccup. We're facing a significant reckoning. For years, people treated homes like they were poker chips instead of actual places to live. Many policies ended up benefiting investors way more than families. We've been fooled into thinking that ever-increasing home prices were sustainable and a good thing. What's truly heartbreaking is that the families most affected by this downturn won't be the investors or foreign buyers. They'll bounce back. It's the families who did everything they could to buy at the peak, believing they had no other choice. It's the young couples who felt pressured to buy right away or miss out forever. And it's the new Canadians working multiple jobs to save for a down payment, only to see their home value shrink. But here's a thought. Maybe this crash is exactly what Ontario needs to remind us all that homes are meant for living in, not just for leveraging. Communities need teachers, nurses, and firefighters who can afford to live there. A healthy housing market is one where everyone can join in, not just the wealthy or the desperate. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Which real estate market do you think will face the hardest hit? Are you just waiting for this crash to dive in, or are you watching your home equity shrink and feeling a bit anxious? And honestly, did you ever think Toronto home prices made sense, or were we all just playing pretend? Drop a comment below. Let me know if you think I'm off base or if I've hit the mark. And feel free to share any stories, like that cousin who bought in Milton and is regretting those hefty mortgage payments. Just remember, this is happening, so let's not bury our heads in the sand. Share this with someone who needs to know what's really going on in Ontario's real estate market. Whether you're ready or not, it looks like we're about to see what goes up must come down. And trust me, it's going to be quite the drop. Oh, and if you haven't already, think about subscribing. If you haven't liked the video yet, I'm feeling a bit offended and thinking about putting my own rules in place. Honestly, I might just stop selling my used screwdriver to anyone in Canada. But seriously, I'll be here keeping track of all the chaos. Someone's got to show you what's happening and remind you to click that box to check out another video.